In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Good evening. We are in the studio and we are live on Sauma HD radios. I know it's a public holiday in South Africa. Some of you are still enjoying your holiday, so please do share and go back and listen to this recording. But those who are able to listen now, we welcome you. And thank you very much for taking time to always join us on our Thursday segment, the Enlightenment Corner. Here we get enlightened, we get educated, we get empowered. We know, we learn things that we didn't know before. And today is one of those days where we are going to hear from a parenting coach. There are many coaches out there. There's a soccer coach, there's a life coach, there's a marriage coach. Now today we are talking to a parenting coach. And when he introduces himself, he'll tell us a bit about what parenting coaches do. But it's not the first time we see you, Thuto Speaks. You've been with us before where we were talking about, fathers and how we can then remove negativity around men. And so today I'm happy that, you've agreed to join us yet again. And thank you very much, because people who come and join us here give of their time, give of their skills without even asking us for a cent. And we are grateful for that, because this is what we do to empower our people. We also don't get money out of doing this. It's something we do as a commitment to ensuring that we empower people. Even the Bible says, without knowledge, people perish. So we don't want, on our watch to have anyone perishing because they didn't have knowledge. So our commitment to you is that we will every Thursday bring you different people who will give you this knowledge. Your commitment should be to join us every Thursday and to share so that this knowledge is spread. Without any waste of time, let me do what we do on In His Grace and Mercy, on Sauma HD radios, as well as on our Facebook Live and on our YouTube Live, and under the hashtag In His Grace and Mercy. So let me open with a quick word of prayer. We always invite God here because he's the enabler. He's the one who gives us opportunities, and we never want to take credit. We always give credit to God, because for us, everything starts and ends with God. Let us pray. Father, we thank you. We honor you. We celebrate this gift of life that you have given us. Even as we are about to start today's segment, Father, we ask for knowledge. We ask for understanding. We ask for wisdom and discernment. To see beyond the physical. May we learn, and when we have this knowledge, may we apply it. We ask all this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you very much. Without waste of time, today's topic, if you saw the poster, is talking about parenting a tech generation, and I'm like, what is that? So I went and searched a bit, and I found something very interesting. I know I've heard these terms before, but I don't think many of us are aware. So as I was looking through to see, what is defined as a tech generation, I found that, in fact, we are categorized into different categories, right? So it looks at the oldies and the young ones, even the newborns have been given a category. So let me quickly give you the 5 and then allow Thuto to come in and educate us. So there are technology milestones that have been there, and from the late 1940s, like from your 1946 to 1964, we see a category of people called baby boomers. And these are people who grew up on TV, using landline telephones, but what vinyls, right? When they were listening to music, they were listening through vinyls and mainframe computers, right? So these are what are called baby boomers. Then the next generation, and I think many of us on this platform would fall into that, is Generation X. Generation X is your 1965 to your early 1980s. They were introduced to personal computers, VCRs, okay, the popular VCR, you know, video where you play that rectangular thing, cassette tapes, out la music, oh, but that's what we take a better way. It's so, and then early video games, right? And then finally, the next generation is the millennials. This is your Gen Y, as they are called, 1981 to 1996. These ones were introduced to smartphones, high-speed internet, and social media was becoming popular. And then Gen Z, which I believe is where we will focus today. Generation Z is those born between 1997 and 2012. They are the Wi-Fi smartphones generation, you know, and from a young age, and then they've been introduced to streaming as well. And then finally, Generation Alpha. Gen Alpha gave the 2013 new bonds to 2025. So this is still, we are still in the Generation Alpha period. Ke bana ba AI, bana ba di tablets, you know, bana ba di AR, le di VR, ba bolela le Siri, you know, Siri, make me smile, Siri, tell me a joke, ke bana bao, you know, bana le di tablets that they use even at schools. So this is Generation Alpha. So today we are going to hear about how to parent the Gen Zs, because these are the ones that we struggle with currently. Ke ba santsaneng ba le ko dikolong, ba santsane ba le ko di-high school, adolescence le yona e tla le di-challenges tsa yona. So Thuto is going to unpack it for us. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always an honor to be part of this beautiful family and this beautiful platform. Thank you so much for having me tonight. And I'm excited about what we're about to discuss, because it's a very, very important, you know, conversation that I believe all families should actually go via this conversation in order for us to be able to build thriving families. Because, you know, my inspiration of being a parenting coach is to help families, you know, thrive, to build thriving families in our communities. That is what drives me in the work that I do.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm gonna just allow you to run with it. Where we have questions, I'll come in, but just flow with the topic, and I'll be taking notes as I normally do.
Thank you so much for that. I'm also greeting all our viewers and all our listeners. Thank you so much for taking time just to come in and hear something that would, I strongly believe, will help us to grow as families and also help us to become effective in grooming and developing our children. We are talking about, you know, parenting a tech-driven generation. One of the most critical factors or aspects of parenting in modern day is for parents to understand this first aspect. I'm happy that, Ausfina, you've covered the different types of, you know, generations that we have leading to where we are now, because that is very, very critical. So in our masterclass of parenting a tech-driven generation, we start by describing what you have just given to us. But today I just want to focus strongly on Generation Z, and I will tell you why I truly want to zoom into that. In society today, the kids and the people who are given trouble in society, it's that generation. I'm sorry to put it in that way, but if we look in society, in the schools, you look in the juvenile prisons, you look into the age of the kids who are now mugging people, the age of the kids who are now hijacking, the age of the kids who are now, you know, being labeled as murderers. They're in courts, in and out. It's that particular Generation Z. So there is a problem of ill discipline or ill management of such a generation. And that is what I truly want to zoom into today, to assist parents to understand them, because what you started with is, it's important for us to understand that generation. And one of the most important characteristics of this generation is that they are internet driven. They are born into a space, they are born into an environment of digitalization. So everything is digitalized. They are born into it. So they are born into this environment that we cannot strip away from or strip away from them or strip them away from. So because of the virtue of that, there's nothing we can do about it. They are born into the internet. That's number one that we need to understand. And because they are born into the internet, by virtue of that, they are educated by that environment. They are born into this environment that is having an influx of information available everywhere, accessible anyhow. They are born into phones. They are born into AI. They are born into all of this, right? So because of that, they have access of information. And that's problem number one. Access of information. Why is it problem number one as we are talking about parenting? It's problem number one because if we track back and we look at previous generations, our generation X was a generation that was brought up that there was not, an influx of information. All information that we got for development was either from school or from our parents and family. So information was centralized to family, information was centralized to school. So the total reliance of parenting in that generation was that of the amount of information that each and every parent had. They could not parent you beyond the level of information that they had. And that level of information they had was the level of information that they actually inherited from their generation, from their upbringing. So when we now look at where we are, we realize that the ceiling has been blown away. There's an influx of information that is available everywhere that we as parents can no longer control, right? So we need to understand, the first thing that we need to understand as parents, in order for us to be on a winning streak in the journey of parenting this tech-driven generation, is for us to understand that there's nothing that we can do to stop our children from accessing the information. Because many times when I coach parents, I come across a lot of parents who act and behave in a manner that they want to put a ceiling or to put a wall around their children that they should not access information. And if that would be our approach, it will be a losing approach. That's the approach that causes division between you and your child. That's the approach that gives rise to resentment or gives birth to resentment of a child to a parent, because you want to limit them to an already existing environment, and you cannot do that. So that is the first thing I want us to understand. The environment exists, and we need to come to terms with that as parents. Acknowledge it and start parenting from that. Use that as a benchmark. Accept it. Secondly, this is a generation that is very high on demand. This is a generation that likes to get everything they want immediately. I always call them the generation of speed. It's a generation of speed. They move at the speed of the information technology that is available. They move according to the internet speed. Whatever that is happening around, whatever that they are doing at the speed of the internet. So if we as parents don't adapt, in my upcoming book, which is called, Building Functional Families, a practical guide to effective parenting and thriving families, there is a chapter there where I talk about adaptability. Because as much as we are Generation X, in order for us to be effective in parenting our kids, we have to apply the factor of adaptability. So this is a Generation Z, that is very high on demand. They demand their things immediately. If they want to do something, they want it now. Why do they want it now? Because remember, they are conscious of the reality and the fact that it's readily available. If you don't give it to them, there are other means of getting it. It's a reality. So to be able to parent such a generation effectively, you need to understand that they are high on demand and get to terms with that. Thirdly, this is a generation whose lifestyle is impacted and affected by the internet, by their icons that they look up, their idols, because they grow up in the time of idolization. They idolize soccer stars, they idolize athletes, great athletes, they idolize musicians and all that. I remember when we grew up, we never idolized those people that much. We idolized people who were before us. If you had an uncle who became a teacher, You will idolize them. Why? Because they were the only people that you can look at as proof before you. But now we are bringing up this generation Z that is having access to internet. They come across and they know so much information about who's making so much money. They are having the Ronaldos of this world. They're having the Lionel Messis of this world. They idolize them. And by idolizing them, they look up to them. And they take influence from such people. That is why many parents will then come and say, Asfina, I don't want my child to have so much access to internet because they will get influence from those people. You know, it's the right thing to say because a parent at that time is actually expressing their concern of the type of influence that might be of impact on their child. But the truth of the matter is, as much as that expression might be correct, it's not going to work if that would be the approach. I want to bring that. And lastly, Generation Z is a generation that multitasks. Many parents are struggling with kids who today they want to do this, tomorrow they're doing this, the next day they're doing this. You end up losing track of what exactly is my child doing, or what exactly does my child want with their lives. Like, what is this child doing? They're doing like multiple things at the same time. And the sad part about that with Generation Z is that while they are multitasking, their ability of focus is very much little. So that is why many times you find that Generation Z is a generation, I normally call it a generation of hoppers. They hop into so many things, right? They can be a tennis player today in school. The next term, they are no longer a tennis player. They now want cricket. And you won't even find the reason why, but it's just in their nature because they are the generation of speed. So that's the first thing I wanted to start, to lay a foundation so that we have a clear understanding. What type of a generation is this? A generation impacted by internet, generation that is very high on demand. It's a generation that multitasks. It's a generation that is influenced, that idolizes a lot of people that are accessed through the internet and the socials and the digital world that we are living in. So the key to that is, the key element is that as parents, we need to understand that there are external factors that will play a role in shaping our children if we do not play a role in becoming parents who are present. Parents who are present. Number two, now that we have described the Generation Z that we are bringing up today in 2025, I want to move to my next step. Timing is very key in parenting this generation. The tech generation, it is critically important for you as a parent to understand the importance of timing. What do I mean by the importance of timing? If you don't parent your child who is Generation Z or the Alpha generation at the right time, let me make an example. Imagine a situation where you have to take a bus at the bus stop at 8 o'clock and you have to be somewhere by 9 o'clock and you miss the 8 o'clock bus. What does that mean to you? It means by missing that 8 o'clock bus, the entire schedule of whatever that you had to do in the day, of wherever you had to be in that day or at that time, or whatever the outcomes that you had to accomplish at the time, is all going to be shifted. It's all going to be shaken, shuffled around. That is what we are experiencing today in our families. When we miss the right time of parenting our kids, especially the generation that is driven by tech, tech will parent them. Maybe let me repeat that. If you don't play a role as a parent at the right time and you wait or you miss the time where you should be investing knowledge and information in your child, developing them, technology will do it. And technology does not choose. Technology, once it's seen, once it's heard, once it's consumed by the mind, it begins to shape that person. So our children today, most of the parents that I'm coaching their kids, it's teenagers that parents never parented them at the right time. So these are the kids who are now portraying character traits that were shaped by technology or information that they accessed in the digital world, right? In parenting, there are stages of parenting. There's a stage in parenting which we talk about when the child is born, nurturing stage. You are nurturing this child who knows nothing about the world. You are giving them information. You are guiding them. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to think. You know when you are grooming a small child until they are sort of a toddler. At that stage, you are feeding information. This is how you drink tea. This is how you eat. When you miss that stage, that's the stage where, as a parent, you need to be instilling morals. You need to be instilling respect. You need to be instilling behavior and conduct. Now, here's the sad reality about that. Many parents who have missed that stage are struggling at teenage level, where a child now is ungovernable, where a child now is no longer controllable. You cannot do anything with this child. Remember, when the child is still small, that is where you need to establish relationships. That is where you need to establish the bonds, because through the bond and the connection, a relationship is born. And that is that relationship that which then later on you use to parent. Many parents are trying to parent their kids, but there is no connection. There is no bond. And it is through bond and connection that we then have a parenting relationship where we are then able to communicate, because parenting, it's about communicating to your child things that are meant to develop them. So the tech generation is a generation that we need to be very cautious that at the right time we parent them, we instill behaviors, we instill the right mindset, we teach them how to behave, we teach them how to conduct themselves at the right time, right? Now, timing then is important for that reason, because if we miss that, it's children from the ages of when they are born until the ages of 8. That's a very critical stage of instilling morals, instilling conduct, saying sorry, saying thank you. All of those things, you teach them from those ages until they are 8. I'll make a simple example. One mother was saying to me, I'm struggling with my boy. He's now around 11. And this boy, I used to buy him clothes and he would be happy. Now he's 11. I bring something, he tells me I don't like it. And he says, I don't understand him. Why? He's just tend to become stubborn. I said, the problem is there's conflict between the two of you because you don't realize that it is time to let him go. It is time to let him start to explore. So meaning, if you did not teach them at the right time, you did not establish the bond and the relationship at the right time, by the time they shift to independence, by the time they shift to explore their own choices, making their own decisions, you will start to be in conflict with them. Because as a parent, you will be wanting to hold on, putting your claws on them. Meanwhile, it is no longer time for you to put claws on them. It's time to let them go. It's time to let them now explore. That is the next stage of parenting, where you become a coach, where you sit back and supervise, allow them to make the choices, allow them to fall, and allow them to come up with their own solution, all under your supervision. That is how they develop. That is how they now get to start to learn how to make the right choices. That is where they start to learn how to make the right decisions. You allow them to be, but that will not be with this generation if the relationship that was meant to be built before they're 8 years of age was not built. If the connection was not established, if the bond was not built at the time. So it's important to understand that timing is important. The age of your child matters. How old is your child? Look at them now. You are raising a Generation Z. How old are they? What are the character traits, or what are the kind of damages and problematic factors that you can identify now? From there, you can be able to see what needs to be fixed. I can tell you in a nutshell, Asfina, most of the teenagers that I'm coaching and the parents that I'm coaching, the problem is relationship. The reason why there's conflict, it's because they cannot communicate. And the reason why they cannot communicate, one listens to the other, one respects the other. It's because the bond, the connection was never there. It was never built. at the right time.
Sure. You've unpacked so many things. Let's go back a bit and reflect. I see that there's a comment there. Maproma is saying he's already taking, when you say the ceiling is blown away, it means now anything can come through, right? Because that covering has been removed. And PK says most parents do it vice versa. Where they're supposed to let go, that's when they want to hold on. And where they were supposed to be holding on, they were not there. The example that you gave. So I literally just experienced this on Saturday. I was supposed to be on a flight coming to Ethiopia because I'm in Ethiopia as I speak to you now. And I missed my flight, right? I got there while the plane was still there, but the gates were closed. I got there at 25 past, and they had closed the gate at 20 past. And they were very clear that, ma'am, you missed the time. So you'll have to go to the counter and ask them to book you on the next flight if there is space, right? So there was a condition. If there is space, you'll be able to get on the next flight. Otherwise, we'll have to book you on the flight that leaves tomorrow. And tomorrow is the day the meeting starts. So imagine, fortunate for me, they were able to put me on the next flight. But had it not been that there was space which they had to create, because somehow I convinced them, they were already saying, no, there's no space tomorrow, 11 p.m. And I'm like, no, I even had the presentation in a poster. So I even showed them like, look, this must be presented. And if those funders don't see this presentation, my whole organization is in jeopardy. So please, and at least they had my plea. So you are right in saying timing is very key. You miss whatever, it's 5 minutes, it's 10 minutes, it's 8 years of a child's life. That timing is key. And by the time you come in and you want to now build that relationship, it might not be built because you also are coming into a space where this child is angry. They've been fed a lot of poison, information about you and your absence. And so to undo all that takes a lot of time. So I really appreciate that. I don't know if you have more points. I know I interjected there, so I don't want to disturb your flow. If you still have points to make, continue and we will engage as we go along.
In our imagination, imagine a child, based on what you've just said, imagine you don't feed your child the bottled milk when they are a baby. You want to feed them when they are 10. Will that child take that bottled milk? They will not take it. They will just not take it. They would want something that goes with their age. So we have realized in the stages of parenting that many children or teenagers that we see becoming problematic in families, in schools, and in society today, apart from other factors and family issues that might be existing, one of the critical causes of that, it's malnutrition in parenting, where there was certain levels or certain stages of parenting that were never implemented. And because of that, I remember one time I was talking to a child who their parent brought to me saying he is so ungovernable. Even at school, he backchats the teachers. He tells them how, some of them foolish they are, lack of a better way, just a child who has become rude. And I remember saying to the parent, just give me time to speak to the child without you in the room. I said, book him. I want to see him face to face. And I sat with this young boy. And this boy actually said to me something that really opened my mind, even on my parenting, work, to say there are these type of kids who actually, when they misbehave and they show this trait of misconduct, they do that intentionally because they are expressing their frustration that is boiling in them that they do not know how to express. So they have this heavy burden load they're carrying, and the only way that they seek the attention of the parents is by misbehaving, is by misconduct. And every time when parents see that, here's the biggest mistake they make. They don't retract to say, what could be the cause? Ask a question. What could truly make this child behave this way? Instead, they jump to label them. That is why, Alsfina, and to all listeners and everybody who's hearing me now, please let us stop. And I want to plead with the parents, stop labeling every day. I can show you messages even on my TikTok. Parents, stop labeling Banabaluna Badi 2000. That is, you don't know how much that damages kids, especially teenagers, because many of them have actually verbally told me, Bar 2000. So would rather behave that way. So there are many kids who we think have misconduct, yet they don't. They are proving you as a parent because you are labeling them. They are proving you because you are generalizing the kind of behavior that you see in them to be that of those people. Or they are misbehaving, they have misconduct, bestowed, yet they are not. So it's important for us to catch this point of timing. And I want a parent, even now, who's listening to us, Asfina, who might be saying, my child, my boy, my girl is already a teenager. There's no relationship. We are fighting every day. Yeah. I'm here to say that is a stage. Any child that is from the ages of 12 all the way to 18, those are the kids that you need to be coaching. You are no longer parenting. You are coaching. They already know how to choose friends. They choose without you, without your consent. They choose what to wear without your consent. They choose who to spend time with at school without your consent. They choose what time and how they spend their time even within the house. So these are kids who are now at a stage where they are making their choices. All you need to do then, your parenting should no longer be that of a parent who is instructing. You are no longer an instructor, but to be able to be effective raising the Z generation, start to become a coach. How does a coach work? A coach looks at the child and looks at how they live their lives and say, this is how you can do better. How do you think you can do better here? Listen to them, hear them out. That is the next step, the approach dynamics. That is the third step that we work through when we are parenting the Generation Z. Approach dynamics, very critical. How do you approach your Generation Z in parenting? What type of approach do you have? This is not an instruction generation. This is a generation that you cannot give an instruction to. This is a conversation-driven generation. I will tell you a short story. I've got my last born, my third born, he's 4 years, he's a boy. I remember there was a time they wanted me to buy McDonald's for them, and I couldn't buy them McDonald's at the time because I was pressed for time. And I thought because I had promised them, he's gonna cry and roll on the ground when I say, I can't buy you now. And guess what? He's 4 years. When I said, Daddy can't buy you now, I will buy you as soon as I have time. He just said, okay, Papa, I'll sit and watch my popos. And I was amazed, and I said, this is how these kids are. These kids, they listen, they reason. They're not like us. You know, we would get angry. We would think you are depriving us. But this generation, Generation Z, it's a reasoning generation. So the key is to be very strong in conversations. If you want to be on top of parenting the tech-driven generation, Generation Z, you've got to be very strong on conversations. And remember, Osfina, what we said in the beginning, conversations are not going to work if the bond, the connection, and the relationship is not there. Yeah. The starting point is go and see whether there is a connection between you and your child. If there's no connection, start there. If there's no bond, start there. If there's no relationship, start there. Because when those three factors exist, your communication and conversations will be easy. It will be easy for your child to listen to your suggestion and, you know, deliberate it and make a choice about it. It will be easy for you to even listen to them, because this generation is a generation that is easy to parent when there is a conversation type of relationship that exists between you and them. So approach dynamics, that is where we need to be very strong. What kind of an approach are we using? Now, I've got what I normally call an ICI principle under approach dynamics. The first I stands for interest. This generation will be difficult to be parented if you don't show interest.
Mm.
This is the generation that you cannot persuade to love the things that you love, or like what you like, or do the things that you want them to do. This is a generation of choice. This is a
Mm.
generation that has a variety, right? So they
Mhm.
even know more things than you, meaning they've got a vast of choice to make. And some of the things, it's choices and things that they will choose from that you are not even aware of. And you can't, do away with that. So the first I is, if you want to win in parenting this tech-driven generation, always show interest. One of the videos I put on my TikTok a couple of months ago, it put me in hot waters because it's one of the most viral videos I put up. But I got a lot of people from up north in Africa who said to me, I was talking about 7 things that you need to say to your kids every day,
Mhm.
to ensure you establish and keep the relationship with them. And I remember getting a few comments from up north in Africa, parents saying, you're going to become a very soft parent. You will be too soft. Kids
Mm.
need a strong hand. And I beg
Mm.
to disagree with that.
Yeah.
Because if you want to appear and you want to bring up this kind of generation with Pharaoh's hand, you will not win. You
Yeah.
will not win because they know a different choice than what you say. If you say to them, you must watch TV until 9 o'clock, they've got phones. So if you
Yeah.
switch off the TV, they log
They go to
into
the
the
phone.
internet. They can access podcasts, they can access movies, they can access Netflix, they can access DSTV. The same TV you switched on the plug, they can access on their phone. This is a tech-driven generation. But you need to establish interest, show interest. The more you show interest in what they like, the more you show
Mm.
interest on knowing what drives them, what makes them tick, what makes them angry, what makes them feel pain, what makes them happy. When you show interest, they draw nearer to you. So this tech-driven generation, to win over them, to be able to have that form of control that will give you an opportunity to become a coach and a guide for them, it calls for you to always show interest. How do you show interest? Make time to ask them, how are you feeling today? How was school today? What do you like? I don't see you doing this anymore. That is interest. They realize that you are interested in them. You are interested in their well-being. You are interested in what they like. Number
Yeah.
2, the C speaks to communication. Approach dynamics. Number 2 key factor is communication. Show interest. Be strong in communication. Make sure that you make some time to communicate. Sometimes, because your teenager has a phone, during
Mm.
the day, even the time they're at school, send a WhatsApp. How's your day going so far? I hope you're having a great
Mm.
one. Communicate, express how you feel about them, express your love as a parent, express your interest, express your desire for them to become great people. Compliment them, communicate things that stimulate inspiration, because the Generation Z is an inspiration driven generation. Technology, the global space or the digital space, is filled with so many things that they are following that feed to inspiration. They've got dance people. Now you see there's a new dance. It's an inspiration they pick up on the digital space, right? So this is a generation that you must be wise as a parent. Use inspiration to parent them.
Yeah.
Do something, say something that inspires them, and then drop in that teaching that you want. Drop in that guide that you want. Coach on that particular aspect you want them to grow in, but base it on the inspiration. The last I on approach dynamics, interpersonal relationship. Now, this one I want to touch on 2 minutes. The generation that is driven by technology, Generation Z, the most critical factor about them is that they have more relationship with the social space, the digital space, more than they have interpersonal relationship. That is
Mm.
why the greatest degree of influence that impact them comes from the digital space
Mm.
more than it comes from interpersonal relationships. If you check our children today, they don't have many interpersonal relationships. That is
Yeah.
why you will find that your child can be able to sit on their phone for 6, 8 hours and not move. They can
Mm.
sit in their room playing a game, because they've developed a relationship with that particular, digital factor, that digital point, that they can live without interacting with people. And that is where the biggest problem is. That is why we are finding it hard to relate to our children. That is why we are finding it hard, because we don't even know what they like. Why?
Yeah.
Because they are a generation that is born into the information environment, and they are driven by it. And because we have faltered on the timing that I spoke about with regards to parenting, we failed to establish the interpersonal relationships that we're supposed to have, so that it's embedded in their character. They see the importance of also having interpersonal. That becomes difficult. That's why they don't even have friends. If they have friends, they have friends who are driven by the same things that drive them. They have friends whom they don't talk to, like on a normal basis, face to face. Friends they talk to on the digital platforms. So everything they do is digital. And because of that, we are bringing up a generation that will never get to be very good with interpersonal relationships. Why do we have so much conflict in our workplaces today? Interpersonal relationships, our strength in interpersonal relationship is diminishing, is dying because of the digital existence. And that's what our children are migrating to. That's why even us as parents, we cannot relate with them because of that. Technology has infringed on the interpersonal relationship that existed and that is meant to exist between us and them. So the internet, the interpersonal relationship that is meant to exist is now cut short by the digital information. They are parented by the digital space. They advise, they go AI. This is my kids. I ask them, where did you learn this? They say, no, on that Popeye of mine on YouTube, I learned this word from there. I learned this thing from there, and I realized I didn't even teach them. That's my role, supposed to be there. But they've already acquired that information. They've already acquired the meaning of such words from the digital platforms. So it's important for us that we mind the approach dynamics, show interest, be strong in communication, ensure that you establish and maintain interpersonal relationships. I've got 2 more points to go. If there's any clarity that we can give, I'm more than welcome to deliberate.
Yeah, go through your 2 points, and then there's a question here, or maybe let's start with this question before your 2 points, because we're still on this topic. Khonzi is asking, so how do we remedy this as parents, reintroducing the importance of interpersonal relationships with our children?
The biggest key for me, one of the master classes that I do when I help parents to establish relationships, especially broken relationships, one, I always ask parents, be humble to ask your children, why are you feeling the way that you feel? Because I believe, and in most cases that I've come across, broken relationships between a parent and a child are caused by certain frictions that have taken place in the past. There are certain things that we said as parents that make them feel pain, and they started to resent us. There are certain things that we did. Sometimes we do things we don't realize that we're hurting our kids, right? And we're doing them out of looking out for them, and we are misunderstood at times as parents. So start by having a conversation of how do they feel? What are the type of things that when I do make you feel that I love you? What are the things that when I do make you feel that maybe I don't love you? What are the things that when you are around me, you enjoy? When you are around me, you don't enjoy? Ask questions. Look at the type of relationship that you have. How broken is it? Where are the mishaps? What must be done? Ask questions. That would be what I would advise. Ask those questions. And once you get answers from those questions, do not, please, this is the key, do not come up with solutions on your own, but engage. What would you rather we do, not you do as a parent? What would you rather we do together to make sure that you are okay and also I'm okay? Yeah. Because remember, I'm supposed to guide you as your mom, as your dad. Asking such kind of questions, one, what they do is they establish a platform where your child can be able to express themselves, their feelings. They also work as a feedback. That's one of the last points that I have here. It gives you feedback in terms of where you are in your parenting relationship or in your relationship with your child. The state of things in terms of how they feel, the state of things in terms of their perceptions about you, in the state of things in terms of their outlook towards life. So all these things, creating that sort of Q&A environment, it opens up for you to know what they think about you, to know what kind of the next step you need to implement based on the information. So it's a kind of a platform where you acquire information that you might not have been aware of as a parent, and also give them a platform to express themselves so that they can also heal, they can also vent out, they can also be understood, and you get to be understood.
Wonderful. To your 2 points.
Now, I'm going to share these, run through them. The critical one is understanding your role in bringing up this tech-driven generation. I've got 5 points that I want you to understand and I want you to grasp as a parent. Number one, be the available parent. The biggest cause of kids who sometimes commit suicide, who sometimes isolate themselves, who sometimes develop hatred, anger, and resentment against you, against their siblings, against friends, against family, against neighbors, against classmates, it's because of the frustration of knowing they have a parent, but the parent is not available. I'll give you a simple scenario that I came across last year, towards the end of last year. There's a young girl who was brought to me to be coached and was brought in by the mother. They stay in Midrand. Now, what happened is that the mother was complaining that this girl, she's suspecting the girl is already sleeping with boys. She's 13, right? Now, the girl is being suspected or suspected of, having intercourse with boys because she's got 2 boyfriends. They're just friends, 2 of these boys, and they stay within the same estate. And when I had a conversation with the girl, and I said, because that's what I normally do with parents, I said, bring the child, let me have a conversation, let me get what the intel is. Then I look at what the parent says is the problem. Then we can be able to craft a program going forward. And I picked up that this girl is not sleeping with these boys. She's 13, and she was broken by that. She says to me, the reason why I befriended these boys is because we share one common factor. And I said, what is that common factor? And she says, all 3 of us, our parents, don't give us time. They're never there for us. When we want to talk, when we want to, just share things with them, they're not there. Even when we reach out, they will always tell you, no, we'll talk about it, and they're gone. And specifically, this girl says to me, I remember a time where I asked my mom for just a girl outing for breakfast. And she canceled me. She said, no, we can't have it. And she requested that for a Saturday. And guess what happened? That very same Saturday that the mother said she can't take the young girl for an outing, where they will just have a conversation, the mother had friends come over. They had a bride. They had friends. They had drinks. It was nice. And the little girl was sitting there thinking, I asked my mom just for 1 hour to sit with me. She said she's busy, but she's hosting people the very same day that I requested. So what am I saying? The parents are there physically. Many parents are saying to me they are available because they're paying for their kids' school fees. Many are saying they're available because they are giving them everything they want. And I want to point it out to you, that's not being available. Our children are going through so much. There's so much influence. There's so much bullying. There is so much, talking down that happens in them, that they are told they are nothing but their peers. You don't know what they go through. Give them time. Be the available parent. That is your role. Number 2, be the listening parent. Be the listening parent. Many parents want to instruct their kids, but they don't want to listen to them. Sometimes even when you are shouting at them, learn to listen to them. Sometimes you shout at your child for something that you deem that is wrong they've done. If only you were to listen to them, you would find that they were not wrong. You misinterpreted the information. Some kids' hatred and resentment towards us as parents stems from there. I came across a boy who was angry at his father because his father shouted at him I want to tell you this, shouted at him because there was his uncle, the father's, I think it's the father's youngest brother, came into the house and there was some alcohol in the fridge. The young uncle drank the alcohol over the weekend, and the father came back and accused the boy who's 16 because he had his friends over the weekend as well. He was accused. Fortunate enough, the boy saw the uncle, but the boy got a lashing by tongue from the dad, until the boy was so angry, said, call my uncle and ask him. He's the one who drank it. And the uncle confirmed it. So most of the time, we don't listen. We always give instruction. This generation, I said it, it's a conversational generation. Have conversations. When they are wrong, ask them, why did you do this thing? They will tell you why. And if they tell you why, that's when you need to step in and say, but this is not right. How can you do this better? You need to do this way next time. This is the approach you need to take this time. That's how we parent this generation. We need to have conversations with them. We need to talk to them. We need to listen to them, hear them out, take their opinion. That's the point number 2. Be the available parent, be the listening parent. Number 3, be the positive and patient parent. Many of us, we are so negative that every word that comes from our mouth is negative. Our children don't know anything positive coming from us. That is why, as FINA, we have a problem with kids who are looking for somebody to give affirmation to them. Yeah. They are looking for somebody to tell them that they are the it thing. You are the man, you are the diva. And they go looking for it on the internet. They go looking for it from the wrong people. At times, they are even given substances that they need to consume so that they can prove that they are the it thing. Why? Because you as a parent never told them that they are great. Because you as a parent never said anything positive to them. You never told them that they are enough. They always have a void. They feel they are not enough. Why? Because you are not a positive parent. And even when they make mistakes, you remind them every day that last year you did this, you are doing it again. How will they correct themselves if you always label them based on their past mistakes? Yeah. Not long ago, I was coaching a boy who is recovering, who's coming from rehab. It's the 6th time he went to rehab. And this is the mind-blowing thing he said to me. I asked him, I said, how come you didn't make it the first time, the second time, the third time? You are at rehab for the 6th time. Why? And guess what he said to me? He says, every time when I come back from rehab and I try to build myself, my sisters will always say something to my mom and say, or he will go back to his old ways. We can't leave things are lying around because he's going to sell. He's going to do this. So he says, those statements are the ones that made me to think, what's the point? And I always give myself back to the same thing. Why? Because the parents and the family and those who are supposed to be a positive supporting structure to the child are not that. Instead, there's negativity and we're not patient with them. When they make mistakes, if they fail now, give them a chance. If they fail the second time, give them a chance, because this is the reality. Yeah. If it's not you giving them a chance, the digital space will give them a chance, and that chance will shape them into a being that you will not like, that you will not be able to maintain, that you will not be able to deal with in your household. Number 5, be the consistent parent. Be consistent in loving them. Be consistent in supporting them. Be consistent in patience. Be consistent in speaking things that speak life to them. Be consistent in forgiving them. Be consistent in be consistent. Don't love them today. They feel great. Tomorrow you hate them. You are patient with them today. Tomorrow you're not patient. Those inconsistencies, they make them want to look, because remember, these are the generation that have information. So if they can't find stability and they are fulfilled in what they can get from you as a parent, they will go look for it somewhere. They will go look for it somewhere. And that somewhere will shape them into beings that will not be able to contain. It's like somebody, I mean, I'll make a simple example, Asfina. It's like somebody who goes and take a wild snake and you want to put it in the house. And you say, I want to teach this snake I want to teach this snake how to be domesticated. It's
Yeah.
already wild.
Yeah.
It's already wild. You were supposed to get it while it was still small, not having been exposed to the wildlife, being rough, being wild, being vile. Then you would have been able to tame it and teach it your ways. And that's what we need to do with Generation Z. We need to deal with them at the right time. Timing, I spoke about it. And when we do that, we stand a better chance of being able to shape their mind, to shape their perceptions, to shape the way they think, their attitude, their conduct, their behavior, their outlook towards life. But when we miss the timing, we miss everything. We're going to have to work double extra hard to win over that. So the last one, be the guiding parent. Be the guiding parent. Be the guiding parent. What do I mean by being the guiding parent? Your children need to be able to be at liberty to ask you for advice. Because there's no relationship that we have with our kids, our teenagers. Our kids are asking people outside who are giving them information that corrupt them. Even if it's not in the digital space, they are asking the wrong people for advice. They are asking the wrong people for insight. And they are getting insight that shape them to think according to that kind of insight that destroys them. Last one, I'm going to wrap up quickly, then we'll leave it. Last one, the fifth point in parenting this tech-driven generation, be a person who is very strong in asking for feedback. Parents don't ask for feedback. When you have a relationship with your child, ask for feedback. When you do something, when you ask for feedback, why do you ask for feedback? It will help you for your own continuous improvement. As a parent, you must continuously grow. Why do you have to continuously grow? Information on the internet changes, the digital space changes every day. In other words, what does that mean, Asfina? It means your child's mindset fluctuates on a daily basis based on the information they have access to. So if you don't have continuous improvement as a parent, you'll be left behind. You'll be thinking your child still likes this or still goes this direction. Meanwhile, they changed direction a long time ago because they came across information that tells them something different. So as a parent, ask for feedback. How are we doing? Be interested in the things that they do. Ask about the things they do on the internet. What are you watching on the internet? When they invite you for programs on TV that they are watching, be interested, sit there. The other time I was watching a movie of Tarzan here, I had to rent it. I don't like it, but I had to watch it because they were interested in it. I had to show interest. I had to be there and understand, oh, these are the type of things they're into now, so that my parenting is aligned. I can use that as an inspiration factor and point in order for me to inject the kind of development that I want with my kids. So it's important for us to do that. Ask for feedback.
Sure. Yeah, what a mouthful. I feel like I was in a master class, as you were calling it. It is a proper master class. I deserve a certificate after this. I'm a better parent. And I can tell you, I'm sure most parents are doing what I was doing. I was assessing myself with every point you were making. I'm like, how am I doing in this area? Where do I need to improve? What must I look out for? So I hope we have really taken in everything that was said, and there's still room to improve. And you saw people are saying round 2. We will talk about round 2. It's definitely going to come. And so where can people find you? Because maybe somebody say, I need this coaching. I don't know. I have a challenge with my child. We need a coaching session. Where can they find you so that they can then reach out to you and you can offer those services?
People can reach me at my email address is lephoto@gmail.com. So it's LEPHOTTO @gmail.com. LEPHOTTO @gmail.com. They can also reach me on my line +27 78 245 9313 078 245 9313. I'm based in Pretoria. We provide parent coaching programs, youth coaching programs, and we conduct our programs hybrid on Zoom, Google Meets, and also on Teams. Or if you want to come in person, we are at Menlyn Piazza, just behind Menlyn Main. That's where we are based. If you prefer to come in person or you prefer to book your child in person, you can reach for us there. But you can get me on my line and make an appointment. We will take it from there.
Thank you so much, Ndate Thuto. And I encourage parents, let's not miss opportunities like this. If you see that there are red flags, in your relationship with your child and you don't know how to do it, there are experts who are trained in that area. Let them help you. Let them help your child so that, they become a better person and you also become a better parent. Let's not misuse such opportunities. Once they are missed, you are likely not going to have another opportunities. I'm going to wrap it here. And I know that, we went over time, but I couldn't stop you. I just, even me, I felt like, I'm still learning. And if you didn't share this, really, that's being, allow me to say, selfish with information, because this kind of information is one that must be shared. Things like this are things that must trend, not gossip, not, people doing stupid things, but things like this powerful session is what should be trending right now. So I'm going to close it with prayer, and definitely the MK team is going to ensure that once a month we do a parenting session. So I'm committing you already. Once a month, we will have a parenting session on different topics, because you can see there is a need and it is well received and parents are learning. So I'm going to close it with prayer as I thank you again, Ndate, for this powerful masterclass that you gave us. Lord, we thank you. We want to learn, and we know that everything Mudumakadero has said today is going to change our lives and our children's lives. Help us, Lord, to do right by our children. Help us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you very much, Ndate. More and more and more. This heart that you have for fixing relationships, may it continue and may it grow. And may all those who come through your doors be restored. Everything how it can restoration, Modima restore. Goodbye, everyone. See you next week and see you on Sunday. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio tuned into.
Sauma HD Radio.
Broadcasting around the world on the World Wide Web. This is
Sauma HD Radio,
your number one internet radio station.
in your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.